Fran Brown is building up the trenches.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Syracuse football gets its biggest commit so far of the 2026 class. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse, and thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening and making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And folks, on today's mini podcast, man, Fran Brown, he just doesn't stop recruiting. He doesn't stop with the transfer portal, and that means I cannot stop making podcasts. And don't worry, guys, I love making podcasts, full podcasts, mini podcasts. But regardless, Syracuse football has landed a 4-star offensive tackle in the 2026 recruiting class, according to 24/7 Sports' Mike McAllister. We're talking about Javeion Cooper from Melbourne, Florida. Cooper is 6'4", 295 pounds. Cooper is a top 200 overall player on On3 and a top 20 offensive tackle in the 2026 recruiting class. And he chose Syracuse over Florida State, Penn State, Pitt, among other schools. This is a massive commitment for the Orange because they are now building up the trenches. Sure, it's cool to get the sexy splash. We all love when you get that 4-star wide receiver in the portal or in recruiting, the running back, the cornerback, the star edge rusher, even that gets you 10 to 15 sacks a year. That's all cool and all. But for my football gurus out there, where is the game won? Where is it won? It's won in the trenches. And Syracuse football lands a 4-star offensive tackle from Florida in the 2026 class. This is a blue chip player at a premium position. So shout out to Fran Brown and his staff for making this happen. The last time that the Orange landed a 4-star offensive lineman, you got to go back to 2021. It was Enrique Cruz. So the fact, I know we're still in the year of 2024, but this is the class of 2026. So it has now been 5 recruiting classes since the last time Syracuse landed a 4-star offensive lineman. They did it. They did it. And by the way, guys, I told you guys that the Miami game could be and probably will be a program-changing caliber win because it really established legitimacy within the program. Miami is a top 10 team. They are a power brand in college football. They're well respected. Yeah, sure, sometimes we like to make fun of them at times because sometimes they underachieve, but that's what we used to also do with Texas, and look at what Texas is now, right? The bottom line is that they are a big football brand, and Syracuse football beat them at home, trailing 21-0, and they go on a crazy run and they win that game. The reason why I mentioned that is because Cooper was at the Miami game. He was there, and he mentioned in the article from Mike McAllister on 24/7 Sports, and I'll link that in the description below, or in the comment section, I should say. He mentioned how he loved the atmosphere, and that was one of the reasons why, obviously, he wanted to play for Syracuse. He was there. So that Miami game was huge, and this was something I was also curious in. Javeion Cooper is a Florida kid going to Syracuse. It's not unheard of. I mean, Syracuse has recruited the state of Florida. They typically won't get the best of the best, although they did get Demetrius Samuel in 2025, a consensus 4-star safety. I did read an article on Rivals about Javeion Cooper that his mother, the article wasn't the best worded, so the best I can come up with is that his mother is either from Rochester or has ties to Rochester. So Rochester is not far from Syracuse, so there's got to be some sort of familiarity there. This is a big-time commit. Javeion Cooper, a 2026 4-star offensive lineman, has committed to Syracuse. Obviously, we still got an entire year before National Signing Day, but this is an excellent start, and it's better to be the incumbent in recruiting, trying to fend off teams rather than trying to flip recruits from other schools. So overall, I am very, very happy with this move. And let me know in the comment section below, how thrilled are you that Syracuse football under Fran Brown just had a 4-star offensive lineman? Yeah, it's not the sexy, splashy move. It's not the 4-star wide receiver. This is really important. You get yourself a 4-star at a premium position like offensive tackle. Now, coming up, we'll talk about where Javeion Cooper and the rest of the 2026 class sits right now. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Syracuse football is playing in the Holiday Bowl against Washington State on December 27th. And the Orange are 6.5-point favorites to get their 10th win of the season, which would be the first time since 2018. All you got to do to bet it is just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com, plus store an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Syracuse football has landed a 4-star offensive tackle, Javeion Cooper, in the 2026 recruiting class. This is a big deal for the Orange, getting a 4-star at a premium position like offensive tackle. Now, as far as where Javeion Cooper slots in, he is so far the #1 recruit in Syracuse's 2026 class. They have 4 commits. It's very early. Already having 4 is a pretty solid number. They have 3 on offense, 1 on defense. The first one on offense is Maurice Medley, a 3-star wide receiver from Baltimore. Deontay Sheffy, a 3-star running back from Pennsylvania. Javeion Cooper, a 4-star offensive lineman from Florida. And then on defense, you got Jackson Gates, a 3-star corner from California. Obviously, it's early. So as far as what Syracuse needs in its recruiting class in 2026, well, they can use basically every position. Every single one of them. Because they only have 4 guys, you can use any one of them. Now, maybe there are, because you already have like a running back or something, you don't necessarily recruit as hard at that position right now, because you get the idea, though. You need every position. You're so early in the class. What I do find interesting is that the only commit so far in the class that's from the Northeast is Deontay Sheffy. He's from Pennsylvania. They have not gotten a single commit from New York or New Jersey. Now, I imagine that is going to change. They are going to get those kids. But if you recall from signing day, the signing day podcast that I did, I talked about how they absolutely dominated New York recruiting. They got 6 of the top 10 players in the state. They just monopolized it. And I hope that they can do the same in recruiting classes going forward, because even though New York is not a football recruiting hotbed, so to speak, if you can maximize that state, if you can monopolize it and get all the talent from there, then your odds of hitting on those players only goes up, right? Instead of getting 1 to 2, you get 6 of the top 10. I imagine, again, that that's going to change. It's just something interesting that I was looking at when looking at Syracuse's 2026 class so far. So that's where I'm at with 2026. It's super early. Signing day is not going to be for another year from now. I imagine with Javeion Cooper, not to suggest that he's going to flip his commitment. He sounded pretty happy in the articles that I read about him, but it's not going to be easy because he is a 4-star offensive lineman. And I said, tackles are premium. That's a premium position right there. Every single power program is looking for a guy like Javeion Cooper. So this is a big deal that Syracuse football, at minimum, has him in the door right now. As far as what is coming up on the podcast, got a couple things to share. Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, me and our good friend Tyler Budge, better known as CF Budge on YouTube or on Twitter, we're going to talk about his preseason predictions. Back in April, if you recall, he said that Kyle McCord was the 11th best quarterback in the ACC and that Fran Brown was the 14th most impactful coach in the ACC. I invited him back on, and he was gracious enough to give us time. He was wrong, okay? I will let you know right now from that conversation, he admitted he was wrong. Okay, but that's coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern. Me and CF Budge talking Syracuse football. Also tonight, Syracuse basketball is playing. They're playing Albany at 7 p.m. Eastern. So there will be a full post-game reaction podcast. And I hope they just win the game, okay? Just win the game. That's all I'm going to say. But win, lose, or draw, I will be here. And then tomorrow, I don't have a full podcast planned, but that's okay because I do have a couple of mini podcasts planned. One talking about Ricky Collins, the quarterback from LSU that's visiting today. And, well, there has been some stuff circulating online about Kyle McCord and maybe getting another year of eligibility. So I will take 10 to 15 minutes to address it and tell you what I know about that. That's what's coming up on the Locked On Syracuse podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. If you really liked it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. And folks, Syracuse football has landed a 4-star offensive lineman in 2026. Shout out to Fran Brown and his staff. Unbelievable job in recruiting. I will see you all at 6 p.m. Eastern.